The Montreal Canadiens pretty much set themselves up at center fairly nicely this offseason, adding Sean Monahan from the Calgary Flames as an exclamation point. And even with all the Canadiens' depth at center and up front in general, though, they'll be hard pressed to make the playoffs, which has to be the plan at this point because they are just done rebuilding. They have their men, they have Nick Suzuki, they have Cole Caulfield, now they have Drew Slavkovsky. On defense, they're pretty decent with, the additions of Mike Matheson, for example. They should be good to go and considered a not so secret master plan on the part of general manager Kent Hughes. Ultimately, when Hughes reveals goalie Carey Price may not play at all this season, it explains why the Canadiens felt they should make this deal. Hughes expects the goalie's $10.5 million cap hit to go on long term IR, giving them the cap space to acquire Monahan, which was $6.375 million, and then some. The Canadiens even presumably had enough space to re sign fellow center Kirby Dach, and that gave the Habs no fewer than 5 theoretical centers with Nick Suzuki, Christian Dvorak, and Jake Evans, with whom Monahan already trains regularly with, rounding out the Canadiens' newfound depth down the middle. It's an obvious upgrade from last season, before which the Canadiens lost Philip Deneau and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, with Dvorak ultimately serving as the team's number 2 center. However, the Canadiens have already acquired Dach to be the team's theoretical number 2 center this season. At least Hughes has confirmed in the past that the idea is for Dach to develop at center. However, seeing as Dach has struggled at faceoff so far in his career with 34.6%, it doesn't hurt to properly insulate him moving forward. That's why Monahan's 50.4% brings to the table in at least an immediate future. After all, Monahan is a pending unrestricted free agent, and if the update on Price's health status is why the Canadiens felt they should have made this deal, Monahan's free agent status is just likely why they made this deal in general. The fact that the Canadiens used Price's presumed LTIR space to acquire Monahan and not, say, another goalie is all you need to know. Jake Allen is not a number 1, as in history with the St. Louis Blues has proven. Meanwhile, Samuel Montembeault is more so of a number 3 rather than a legitimate NHL backup. So if that's a tandem with which the Canadiens are going, it's clear they've re-signed themselves to a long season, which is alright. They're rebuilding, another high draft pick is in order, draft picks in general is pretty much all it is to sum it up. With that in mind, the Canadiens really didn't trade for Monahan. Instead, they traded for the first round pick they also got in the Monahan trade. Monahan himself was the cost to acquire it, along with future considerations also that the Flames could make room to sign Nazem Kadri, which I'm going to talk about too. If the Canadiens do have their sights set on a lottery pick, and they should with whatever goalie they do have playing behind them, a largely inexperienced defense, Monahan is almost inconsequential. It really does not make a difference if he returns to form after scoring 82 points in the 2018-19 season, but 99 points in the last 3 seasons combined. If he doesn't, what does it matter? He should nevertheless help Dach along in some fashion. However, what if he does? It's at least a possibility. Monahan did tell the Montreal media upon his acquisition that he's feeling like himself again, expecting to be healthy for the season. He has effectively been playing while still kind of hurting a bit the last few seasons, and then he had hip surgery in each of the past 2 years, so it's been crazy for Sean Monahan. But if he is able to regain his offensive touch, which saw him score 30 goals in 2 straight seasons at his peak, the soon-to-be 28-year-old could likely see what impact he could have on the end result. And remember that the aforementioned lack of goaltending and defense, he would, however, presumably cost a prettier penny at the trade deadline, so another first-round pick hopefully comes in. And Montreal is only a long-term solution through that lens, because he's not old by any stretch, but he wouldn't just really fit in with what the Canadiens are looking to accomplish. These are 2 extremes right here. Either Monahan falls flat, in which the case the Canadiens wouldn't want to keep him past this season, or he becomes the Monahan of old, in which case the Canadiens likely wouldn't be able to fit him under the cap, similar to the Flames, who paid an arm and a leg just to get rid of him. You can't count on Price going on LTIR forever. You also can't count on Monahan being a number 1 center again. Thankfully, the Canadiens don't seem to be doing either, with Monahan conceivably slotting in as high as number 2, behind Suzuki. Dach, who was shifted to the wing by the Blackhawks last season, remains the future at the position because otherwise there would have been no reason to trade Alexander Romanov to acquire him. And in the here and now, though, it's possible Monahan takes over the role to help bring him along more slowly. There is probably a school of thought that the Habs should throw Dach into the deep end at center right away and let him sink or swim. In what will almost certainly be a losing season, no one should expect so much from Dach that he's able to firmly establish himself as the second center the Canadiens so desperately need. Giving Monahan the tougher assignment at center during a long season could work. Success in the 2022-23 season for the Canadiens will look drastically different than in the past seasons, and that should extend throughout the lineup, Dach included. It also extends to the front office and Hughes, and the Canadiens are getting the job done. Overall, it will not be pretty, but the Canadiens just acquire Monahan and the Furs for as close to pretty much nothing as you can get, with the potential to parlay him into additional futures next trade deadline. So this specific deal, nothing short of a thing of beauty. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.